Till now, we have learned about variables in Python, but here is the truth. A variable alone is useless if Python doesn't know what type of data it is storing. That's why we need to understand data types. In this video, we will be discussing what are data types in Python, the most important data types used in real programs, and how to check the data type of a variable. This video is perfect for beginners and job-oriented learners. So let's start with what is a data type. A data type tells Python what kind of data a variable is holding. Is the variable holding a value which is a whole number, or is it holding a value which is a decimal point, or is it holding a value which is a text, or a value which is either true or false? Python needs this information so it knows how to store the data or what operations are allowed on it. Now let's look at the most common data types used in Python program. The first is integer written as int. So integers are whole numbers without any decimal points. So if you see any variable which is holding a value which is a whole number, Python automatically treats it as an integer. Integers are mostly used for storing data like age, count, quantity, and marks. So anytime you see a variable holding a whole number without any decimal, it is usually of an integer data type. Next is float. Float is used for storing numbers with decimal points. So here the variable price has a value which is a decimal value. Python consider it a float. Floats are commonly used for storing data like prices, measurements, percentages, and heights. Important thing to remember, even if there is one decimal, it becomes a float. Now comes one of the most important data types, which is a string. A string is used to store a data which is a text. So strings are always written inside the quotes. It can be single quotes or it can be double quotes. So I have used double quotes here, but you can also put the same text inside the single quotes as well. So here Aisha is a text, so Python treat it as a string. So strings are used for storing data like names, sentences, messages, and even paragraphs. One important rule here is if you put something inside quotes, Python will treat it as a string, even if it looks like a number. Like if you put 20 inside the quotes, it becomes a string and the data type automatically changes from int to string. So that's the common mistake most beginners make. So this is the one thing or one rule you have to make sure that don't put your whole numbers, decimals, or either true and false inside your quotes. That immediately changes the data type. Next is boolean. Boolean has two positive values, true and false. So this is used mostly for the questions like for which the answer is either yes or no. So in this case, this variable is created to know if someone knows coding, if they're learning coding, or if they like coding. So the answer can be yes or no. So if the answer is yes, in that case, we'll store the value as true. On the other case, we'll store the value as false. So booleans are mostly used for storing data like conditions, decision makings, checking yes or no situations like in this case. And important thing to remember here is true and false always start with a capital letter and they're not strings, so no code should be used. Now we will be checking the data type using the built-in function type. Now, if in case you're confused, what is the data type of a particular variable? In that case, Python allows you to check the data type with its built-in function type. So we will use the print function because we want to get it displayed on the output screen, and we will use the built-in function type. This is for knowing the data type of a variable, and because we want to know the variable age. We want to know the data type of the variable age. So we have used it inside the type function. Now we want to follow the same for the rest of the variables as well. So we have four variables. So we will be putting this in all the four lines and we will change the variable names. So the next variable we have is price. So we will change the variable name to price. The next variable we have is name and the last one we have is coding. So this function helps us to know the data type of a particular variable. If in case you're confused, like what is the data type of a certain variable. So our first variable was age, which is holding a whole number. So the data type it is showing is int. The next variable is holding a decimal value. So it falls into float data type. The next is a text, which falls into string data type. And the last one is true, which is a boolean data type. Now, if I change the 20, if I put it inside the quotes, then the data type of this variable automatically changes from an int to a string. So earlier when it was a number, it was an int data type, but now as I put it inside the quote, the data type has changed automatically. So this function, type function, is very useful when debugging and learning. Now let's quickly recap. So we have four common data types, which is int. So if any variable is storing a value which is a whole number, it falls into int data type. And if a variable is holding a decimal value, then it falls into float data type. Then comes a string, which is for text or something which is inside the course. And the last data type we have is boolean, which is for storing true or false. So Python automatically assign all these data types based on the value. That means in other programming languages, when we create a variable, we have to mention the data type of a particular variable like this. That means we are initially telling that this variable should be of this particular data type, which is not the case with Python. It automatically assigns data types based on the value we have stored inside it. So understanding data types is very important for writing correct programs and for interviews. In this video, we have discussed about common data types, what is a data type, and we have learned how to check the data type of a variable. And in the next video, we will learn about taking input from the user and how data types behave with input. Make sure you practice all these examples and watch the next video in series.